Post-traumatic slave syndrome is an explanatory theory that really looks at multi-generational trauma. One of the things that's difficult for people is their first response is, oh my God, that happened so long ago. We're talking about people being captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on, and then you have to ask the question, did the trauma continue? Yes, so 300 years of trauma, no help, freed. No help, more trauma. If it's a sustained trauma, then the impact of that is also sustained. When we look at multi-generational trauma, we're looking at people who are maybe victims of natural disasters and their families and their children and generations of folks who have experienced war. And we know that there are residual mental, emotional, traumatic impact. And what I did was I started to look at the African-American experience, starting with slavery, as a real clear, long enduring trauma. So I started to see that there were clear connections between that survival behavior and contemporary living in African American experience. I started to see common behaviors that I took for granted as, well, cultural. There's adaptive behaviors, survival behaviors. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The black mother leans over to the white mother and says, I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well. And the white mother's response is, oh, thank you. She begins to go on and on about he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along. And the black mother responds, oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves. Now, when I'm working with African American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course. There's a secret. Because everybody black knows that even though the black mother is going, oh my God, she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this black mother is working in the fields and a white slave owner comes through and says, wow, that boy is really coming along. What is she gonna say? No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, you know, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, why can't you be proud of me? Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. PTSD is a disorder that occurs as a result of a single trauma. You don't even have to be there to actually get a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. You could just hear about something horrific happening to someone you love. So you have people who have experienced it firsthand, people who have witnessed it in their environment, right? People who are continuing to be oppressed. That exacerbates any possibility of healing. So it's not post-traumatic stress disorder because then it becomes part of what we call your socialization process. So you begin to normalize a way of living and being, everything from what we eat to what we believe it means to be a friend. You know, all of these things are colored by history. And if you don't understand it, you're going to fold in things that you've just assumed are normal. But post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger, feeling of foreshortened future. There was a point where there were, you know, African American children in different urban settings that didn't expect to live to be adults because they saw so much death that they started planning their funerals like at 13, 12, as young as 10. When you start looking at the simple biology, you start looking at the impact of stress on health. And while we look at general stress, you know, we know finances, you have illnesses, all these different things. How about being black? How does factoring in being black in America impact your stress level and therefore your body's ability to operate its own immune system? Because we know it compromises the immune system. Once you understand it, then you can deal with it. Because you see, it's habitual. You're socialized. It becomes part of your being. So one of the ways you begin to address that multi-generational trauma is to work with the people it directly impacts, to hear from them. And when you give the people the information, they can use it. I think the first order of business is beginning to have a conversation. And the other is to educate the larger society. You have to stop the assault. So this is not purely a clinical thing. This requires social justice and change. That's where part of the healing is. It's not in a clinical setting or in a pill. It's in fairness and justice and safety and equity. We got to work with some of those clinical things, some of those issues of panic and anxiety. And we also have to deal with the fact that you have a system that is set up to oppress you and to continue to injure you. Both those things have to be dealt with. And they cannot singularly by themselves affect a change. They have to be done collectively.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you all for dropping in, taking your time out to spend with us today for this Vision on Board Part 2, Reclaiming Our Legacy as Black Queens. And we have our featured special guest, Sister Cheryl Cross and Linnell Williams, as I mentioned. And we're going to have a Q&A at the end of the program of the masterclass. So if you have any questions about anything, please put it in the chat, and we're going to be glad to address those at the end of the event. Also, this is a Queendom only event. This is for us to celebrate. And with that said, we're going to move right into everything and move forward, because I did have a little bit delay due to my little technical glitch there. So it's all about our team, who we are. And I have already given you our name, so let's give you a little background information about who we are. I am Louise Hicks. I'm a world-renowned radio personality, award-winning author, motivational speaker, business consultant, life coach, vision board facilitator, YouTube content creator, and entrepreneur who is on an elevational journey to support and assist in elevating our Black community to a higher level of consciousness for spiritual and economic growth. I have a passion for law, and I anticipated attending law school. However, I chose to take care of my family first because I had a baby on the way. And I said, oh, well, I'll take care of my baby. I won't go to law school at this time. I have a bachelor's degree in social work, but I chose, as I said, to put my family first as opposed to going to law school. However, I have litigated in a few cases in pro per, as we call it in California, when you represent yourself, and in pro se, when you represent yourself in the state of Texas. And I won all of my cases. So I was excited about that. And I'm currently working on 2 other books, one being a suspense novel. And let me kind of move myself out of the way here. So with that said, I'm going to move on to our next person, featured guest, Linnell Williams. And I know you guys have heard of a jack of all trades, right? Well, let me pull us down out of the way there. Linnell Williams refers to herself much of the time as a Jenny of all trades and a master of one, meaning Jenny is the female counterpart of jack of all trades. Linnell has worn multiple hats over the years, with her most notable as certified upholsterer, fashion, and interior designer, where she is now penning a book comprised of her many designs and entrepreneurial spirit that drives her passion, whereas she is certified by the University of Fashion with 45 plus years of garment construction. Wow. Great. She has crafted many fashion shows where she displayed her innate brilliance in the fashion design world. Her freelance paralegal, 15 years banking experience, and formal training from the Henderson County Junior College in secretarial science, along with her executive secretary at Men with City of Fort Worth, Texas, for over 40 years, has given her much insight into how to facilitate and navigate through challenges of the most complex world we face daily. Lastly, but not least, Linnell's #1 love is that of biblical studies and research. Awesome, Linnell. Sister Cheryl Cross is a God-fearing daughter of Zion who lives and works according to Torah biblical principles. She is a former corporate executive and professor in an MBA program and currently serves as the CEO of Consultant Proficiency Resources, LLC. In addition to being a managing partner, leadership coach, grant writer, and business consultant, she also hosts the radio talk show Jumpstart with CPR on One Eye Radio, creates content on leadership transformation for a competitive advantage on YouTube, and has recently launched her online pop-up store. She is also a doctoral candidate at a university in the Northeast and aspires to author her first, oh my God, give me a minute here, her first ethical principle book for life's journey. Therefore, these are our featured speakers for today for this masterclass as we, as Black queens, reclaim our legacy as Black queens. So with that said, we're going to move forward and we're going to give you some information about the topics for discussion today and our presenters, each one of us, what we will be talking about. We're going to talk about 5 significant life journeys that we all take as we take this path down life's road. Life management, Linnell Williams is going to be that presenter. Relationships, Sister Cheryl Cross. Mental health, myself, Louise Hicks. Finances, myself, Louise Hicks, and Sister Cheryl Cross. And business, Sister Cheryl Cross is going to take you on that business journey. So with that said, let me share with you life management. I'm just going to give you a little preview of what is to come in the life management presentation. And I asked the question, are we using our brain power to make sound decisions in our daily lives? Are we taking positive action steps to elevate ourselves to a higher level of consciousness to promote self-development and improve not only our own internal self and our family, but within our Black community as well? Because that community is vital to bring us together and connect those dots. In this masterclass today, we're going to discuss and explore how we take control of our lives by discussing the 5 significant components that I just spoke with you about that can and will bring us joy, peace, happiness, so that we can live our best life. So as we celebrate this Black History Month, as we know, we should be celebrating it 365 days of the year. We want to continue to make Black history by sharing with one another, as the scripture in Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So as Black queens, this is exactly what our plan of action is today, because we are our sisters' keepers. And we're not going to church today now, but we are going to be on a spiritual journey today. So get ready. And as we get these hit home runs and touch 5 of these bases to improve our lives and those across our community and the generations within power and with love for one another. This masterclass is a short version now. It's not the full version because we got that deep dive coming next month when we go into the boot camp. But this masterclass is a short version and overview of our upcoming boot camp next month, the March Madness month, as is known as we become these mad, and when I say mad, I'm talking about motivated and determined queens. In this upcoming boot camp in March, we are and will continue to be these mad, motivated, and determined Black queens, journeying together in our sisterhood in power, love, unity, and divine pathways to reclaiming our legacy. And Myself as a baby boomer, born in the month of March, that madness month. Today, I am coining and proclaiming the month of March for us as mad Black women, motivated and determined, Mad Black Queens Month, because we never quit. With that said, we are going to go to Lynell Williams, who is going to give us the information about life management. I'm going to move you guys out of the way so that we can bring in Sister Lynell. Here we go.
Okay. Well, first, Sister Louise, I want to say thank you for that wonderful introduction. And also, I want to let you know how you inspire me so greatly. I love your energy. I love your way of thinking. And I love the path that you're blazing right now, because you really are a leader of women. So I applaud you and celebrate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In saying that, I'm going to go ahead and get into, and let me do this because I promised myself to time myself. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the subject matter that I have for today. And the first thing is the generational chart. And that is how, at this point in time, there are 7 generations in the earth. And we were having Sister Louise, you and I were having a conversation about the generations, and it prompted me to remember something from my childhood. That is the connection in the generations, okay? Because from the first generation that we're going to talk about, which is the GI generation, all the way down to the current generation, which is called Alpha, you know, there seems not to be a connection when there really is, because from generation to generation, you'll always hear certain comments like, you know, those people are old fogey and disconnected and they really don't understand. And, you know, and then you'll hear comments from the older generation say of the children, like they have just gone to hell in a handbasket. You know, they're different people than what we are. But see, the reality of it is they're not different. We're not different at all. And I'm going to tell you what prompted me. I just remembered this today, is that when I was 16, I typed my mother's thesis when she was going back to school for her master's degree. And the thesis was on Socrates, because she was an elementary education major. And so in that day and time, they were still saying the same thing. Amazingly, the older generation was complaining about the younger generation. The teenage generation, they said, were wayward and they were not doing things the way the previous generations were taught. So in looking at that, everything and all of us are connected. There really is not a disconnection. And what is happening is the only difference in generations and people is the programming of each generation that proceeds. So that being said, the oldest generation that we have right now, could you scroll that up for me a little bit, Sister Louise? because the GI generation is called the greatest generation. And those people were born from 1901 to 1927. They're the ones that experienced the World War II and also the Great Depression. The silent generation that came after them were born in 1928 to 1945. And these are the people that have always been known to be very, very hardworking people. They had respect for hard work, honest day's work for honest day's pay. They had standards and rules and high moral fiber. And also, this generation was the one. And so, let me say this. When we're talking about these generations, we know that as a whole, there is a difference between other people and Black people, the way we relate and assess life, okay? Because the reality of it is life has been different for us, as you just saw in the previous video from Dr. McGrew. Okay, so in this particular generation is where you will get the hardworking farmers and largely the people that we knew, with the exception of the ones that lived in the cities, were farmers, very much inundated into agriculture. And so this is the generation also that you would call old school. Like you heard the statement, hey, I'm from the old school. And so that's where you'll find like the serious, diehard moral fiber and really dedication to strong work ethics. And that's what they taught their children. And so the silent generation gave birth to the baby boomer generation. And so those people were born from 1946 to 1964. This generation, I want to say, and I can't even get into the myriad of things that, because there's not enough time, you know, and this is something that we will get into in the boot camp, but it's not enough time to talk about the experiences of the baby boomer generation, because they are so many, and so many of them are pivotal and transitional, and I'm just talking life-changing. So we know we had the Vietnam War. We know that we had Dr. King and he was murdered. We had JFK, he was murdered. We had his brother, Bobby Kennedy, and he was murdered. And there were a lot of people that were murdered at that time, which brought a great devastation over the nation. And it made a turn during that era. And so I'd like to say that there are two parts to the baby boomers, and I can't get into it right now, but when you come back to the boot camp, then we'll certainly do a deep dive into that. But the last thing that I want to say about the baby boomers is that something that really, really was life altering that affected the preceding generation, or the forthcoming generation actually, would be, I would say, Twiggy. She's the one where they pulled her skirt up real high, you know, way up high around the thigh. to where, you know, you almost see the underwear. And then the other thing is they introduced the bikini. That's when they started to get naked, because actually, in actuality, a bikini was nothing more than a bra and some scanty panties. Okay. So the nation started to get naked. Women started to get naked. That was a turnabout. And there was the war on drugs. That was the turnabout. But I would think the most influential turnabout was when Madeline Maureen O'Hara went into the school system and had them to eliminate prayer from the school system. Okay, so when they dropped the prayer, everything that was a constituent of prayer also was eradicated, because we were at that time largely operating on the golden rule. And it was taught in the classroom. When I say golden rule, I'm talking about do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that was a principle, a standard to live on. And so when they dropped that, it was easy. See, when you eliminate God, then it becomes easy for the enemy to come in and replace that with something else. So following that, the baby boomers gave birth to the millennial generation. Okay. Jeez. That group of people were born 1981 to 1996. Okay, here's what started to play out with them. Slowly but surely, the mindset started to creep in. If it feels good, do it. Okay. So that's a far cry away from do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So now you can slowly see the deterioration, the moral deterioration. However, these are the people that have been introduced to the, what did they call it? The information, the information generation. So then, yes, they were largely into books, the internet, and then they introduced the computers into the public classrooms. Okay. So beyond that, this generation, the millennials, gave birth to the Gen X's. Okay. Sister Louise, can you switch me?
Yeah, the millennials, I'm on the Gen Xers. I think you said the baby boomers gave birth to the Gen Xers, yes, to the millennials, but the baby boomers gave birth to the Gen Xers.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, everybody. I got that switched around. I jumped the gun. Sorry. Okay, so the Gen X's then came from the baby boomers, 1965, because the baby boomers ended in 1964. So 1965 to 1980 was the Gen X, what was called Gen X. Also, this generation of people were known as the latchkey kids. Why? Because there was a transition being made in the economy, the economics of the US. And so things had turned to where it took more than one income to solidify the household. So the kids had to stay home alone after school, and then thereby they began to be called the latchkey kids during this time was the AIDS epidemic came along, and the LGBTQ rights began during that time. And unlike the baby boomer parents, the kids were able, see, because the baby boomer parents had to do the latchkey thing, these kids were able to stay outside. So that made a different tendency in the characteristics of that particular generation. And so now going back to the millennials, I already explained that one, sorry, ahead of time. But now the Generation Z was born 1997 to 2010. And so these are the kids that are born, like people say, if you need anything, if you don't understand about computer systems, or you don't understand how to work your phone, you don't understand how to work your computer, if you got a grandkid or something, call them, they'll tell you. And so it seems to be that way, is that this generation from Gen Z are just one with phones and screens, computers, and whatever is technology. And that brings us up to the Alpha generation, which is the generation right now. And I think that they are Generation Z on steroids, because they have all of that the Generation Z has a tendency to do. Plus, these people have spirits, like they have been here before, like they just know things, and you didn't teach it to them. You know, they didn't teach it to them. And they really didn't get it from the computer. I have my granddaughter, actually my great-granddaughter, and she will say things that are so profound and so deep. And I'm saying, what makes you say that? How do you know that? She says, it's in here. And it's kind of scary. And, you know, these are different people as far as what they're able to assess and you know, display. And so that is that's the total of the generations that we have right now. And there are, like I said, there are 7 of them. And so since things have gone so began to be so chaotic, and they've gone amok and awry, you have a tendency to think, how did we get here? So how did we get here? Number one, because of disobedience to the moral and righteous law. Okay. Another thing that helped us to get here is religion and its effects on us, on the mind, and how there were other people who used religion to indoctrinate us to believe something that really is not so, but to be manipulated and controlled thereby. Okay, and so these next 2 people that are on my list, Lord Macaulay and King Leopold, it's always been said, and we always talk about here in America, the Willie List syndrome, and, you know, what a deal he played on the mind, and how the programming would last for 400 years or more. But when we get a chance to do a deep dive, we're going to talk about these 2 gentlemen, Lord Macaulay and King Leopold, because they are responsible for doing really, really more than Willie Lynch brought to the table. The next thing on the list is social programming, and we know what that's about. The social system that was given us so that we could be manipulated and put into a particular class. Another one is religion. And no matter how you dice it or slice it, religion, which is under the guise of Christianity, has really, really fooled us and done us a great injustice. And all of this together really has brought about the totality of moral decay. Because, and I'm going to tell you why I say that, because see, under the umbrella of religion, you have the KKK. Under the umbrella of religion, you have LGBTQ, BDSOP, I don't know whatever else. But all of that is under religion, and we know that it's a devilish and a diabolical thing. So who are we? That's another question that I hear people talk about all the time. So we are the chosen. And I'll go back in a minute and tell you about how we are the chosen. We're going to talk about the daughters of Zion. We're going to talk about the difference between feminism and femininity. Okay. We're going to talk, and the feminism deal comes with the, what is that big marketing thing they had about women? Women's lib, that's what it is. That's where the feminism comes from. But we're going to get into that and break it out and talk about the difference between. And another thing that we must know, especially as females, as queens, and our God-given power and right, we must know our strength and our power. Because even though many of us don't know it, we operate in it every day, all the time, all day long. But here's the thing, it's being utilized in a negative vein. And so that causes a problem, especially because we don't know who we are. Okay. So when we do our deep dive about who we are, we're going to take it to what is called the Table of Nations and break that out, because that's going to take a little while. So, but we're going to go to the Table of Nations from the Bible so that we can understand clearly who we are, what has brought us here, and how to overcome. And I think that is the last thing, is the solution, because that's what we're looking for, is a solution. I shared with somebody, you know, we talk and we talk and we talk. We have talk shows, and, you know, whether it's online, whether it's radio, whether it's TV, there are talk shows and people talk about the problems that we face and that we experience all the time, but there's no solution to it. So that's what we're going to deep dive into, get to the solution. How do we overcome? And I'm just going to tell you from on the surface standpoint, is that we need to turn back to the Most High. Thank you. That's my piece. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let's give Miss Adele a big round of applause. Thank you for going through that life management piece. and letting us know what it means to be spiritually grounded, to live our best life, because it has to do with our mindset. How do we have the renewing of our minds to wear our crowns with that love, that dignity, and that integrity and respect? And that how we know we see this beautiful Black woman here wearing her crown, because we have to realize you are beautiful. You're never alone. You're strong. You're always loved, and you are the chosen. So just remember that. And now I'm going to stop sharing. And thank you, Sister Linnell. I really appreciate how you broke all that down and how we interact between the various generations, because we do come together under those that beautiful way that you broke it all down to us. So let me go ahead and share our next one, and hopefully I'll have it easier to share this time, and we don't have to go through what I went through before. Here we go. Because we're going to go to how you create solid relationships. And this presentation is going to be by Sister Cheryl, because we know that we have brain destroyers and we want to reclaim ourselves as queens. And in order to do that, we have to learn basic principles that we should be living by to help us to have, because we know that we are living in a highly chaotic society now. So can you all see that's created solid relationships? And
Yes.
Okay, great. Because these brain destroyers, how association can be negative or positive, because a lot of us now, based on social media, I mean, it's outrageous out here. It's really crazy right now how things are going, because there's so much negativity, and I call it junkology, because social media has hindered so much progress with us as Black queens when you see all the negativity that's going on. And we need to get back to our family structure, because our families have fallen apart. There's been a shift in power, and a lot of that was brought about by the feminine movement that had nothing to do with us, really, but a lot of us as Black women have fallen into it, but it has not been our struggle, because we are totally different from the other struggle that the feminist movement brought about, women's lib. And we have to start looking at our family structure, how the Black king and queens should come together, with the Black king as the provider, the protector, the preparer, and the queen as the helpmate, because that's our design. We're designed to be the helpmate. So with that said, we're going to bring in just a second here, because when we take a deep dive, we're going to start looking at the picture you see here as to belief, and how we have to take on that courage and confidence and commitment, because it's all about getting ourselves aimed to our purpose through aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, and determination, with a vision. A lot of us don't even have vision. We don't have hope. We don't have faith. We don't do our due diligence, because reading really does open the mind to great opportunities, and we don't go out and seek that knowledge so that we can take that action. And if we don't do something about it, 25 years or so right now, we're going to be at a zero net worth, and we have to take control of our lives now, because if we don't, who knows, we might be running around homeless or eating out of garbage cans and so forth. So this is one of the reasons that I chose to do this masterclass and take a deep dive when we do the boot camp. And a lot of us are not really focused. We're not paying attention to what's going on. And you see me in my little car, I'm going to be laughing, because I'm saying we are working on it now. If you don't take heed, I'm going to be saying bye-bye. See y'all later. 2024, you didn't take heed. So we're moving forward now, because we have that hope, we have that vision, and we're taking control of our life, because based on biblical principles, you have to believe, and you have to start using that GPS, God-powered system, because your destiny through God's guidance is your command, because you do have that free will. So it's going to be about relationships. So with that said, we're going to stop sharing now and give Sister Cheryl the opportunity to bring you her presentation on relationships. Thank you, Sister Cheryl. Take it away.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Sister Louise and Sister Linnell. I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. I was taking notes, sisters. I hope you're taking notes either on your pad or if you're Generation Z, on your notes on your phone. Either which way, it's important that we get the information, we hang on to the information. That was great appetizer getting ready for the main course. Absolutely. I think I do have licking lips. So yes, absolutely. And I would like to mirror the sentiments of Sister Linnell in terms of Sister Louise. You are indeed a visionary, understanding the need in our community, using your backdrop and understanding what do we need as daughters of Zion and how we can elevate each other. And it's by each generation sharing their wisdom, like both you and Sister Linnell have done, and for my generation, that is Generation X, reaching out to Generation Y, the millennials, Generation Z, etc. And we understand that the link that brings us together is indeed communication. And we need to listen with our hearts and then be able to convey our thoughts accordingly. So that was phenomenal. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for the opportunity again, Sister Louise. I'll be taking over the driver's seat as we consider now relationships. And we know that different relationships exist, whether is that between a mother and a child, husband and wife, sisters, brothers, etc. In today's session, we're going to explore self in self-awareness, self-management, and self-leadership. It's important that we navigate accordingly and we lead ourselves towards goodness and righteousness, that what is true as opposed to mischief and negative tendencies.
Oh, Sister Cheryl, excuse me a second. You're not visible. Are you
my video is on?
Seeing you? Because we don't see you. I don't see you.
Really? Do you see my picture?
No.
No? Oh.
No,
can you hear me?
No, I don't see her either.
Oh.
We hear you, but we don't see you nor our picture. There you are. There I see you now. There we go. Because I'm saying, where is she?
Right. This is good. Believe it or not, when you were speaking, I was kicked out. I quickly had to come back in. So,
oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, despite the different technological challenges, we shall still rise and just continue and move forward. Again, thank you, ladies, for setting up the premise in terms of this love message to our sisters, regardless of our generation. And as I'm taking over the driver's seat, I want us to come back to a level of accountability and responsibility for selves, right? Why we cannot force anyone to change. The person who we can change is the woman in the mirror. So it is about being self-aware and self-managing and also adopting some level of self-leadership. And we're going to show a video for the boot camp, but I'm just going to summarize what that video entails, since Sister Linnell spoke about understanding who we are and whose we are. And in the video that we'll be sending and showing in the boot camp, there's a street preacher who's asking a group of diverse individuals within the United States, I believe in the suburbs of Virginia. He asked, do you know who you are? And most of the crowd said, yes, they know their identity. And the pastor called out and he said, okay, if you know the identity of this group of people, please shout it out. So he said, Canadians. And what do you think people said? They're from, can you tell? Canada, right? Now join me, ladies. I want this to be interactive. If I say you're Russian, you're from?
Russia.
Thank you. And if you're Chinese, you're from?
China.
And if you're Indian, you're from?
India.
And if you're Black, you're from?
Africa.
Hold up. Do you know that for sure? So that's the question he had for me earlier. The reality is, if someone could put their speaker on mute now, I'm hearing crackling in the background. Thank you.
We hear some noise in the background, so can you make sure you mute it?
Or maybe you can mute that person, Sister Louise. Thank you. So
you mute yourself. It's not muted. I'm trying to find who it is, but I don't see it. Oh, it's gone now.
Thank you. That's okay. Thank you so much. So the reality is, as Black individuals throughout the diaspora, we cannot say 100%, right? Some believe that the cradle of civilization started in the motherland, Africa. There's this whole debate. However, what we do know, aside from Africa, the largest Black population the second largest is in Brazil. And then, of course, you consider the transatlantic slave trade and where we deposited between the Caribbean, as well as, of course, the Americas, and really all over the world. So that's pretty much the question that we have. And at the beginning, Sister Louise was kind enough to share with us a video from Dr. Joy DeGruy, and she addressed post-traumatic slave syndrome and factoring that term Black. But the reality is, what is our identity? So in our bootcamp, we'll show that video, and he's going to break it down further. What I would say is that at the end of that video, it did give me pause, right? Notice everyone in this session, it was 3 or 4 seconds, there was a pause.
You knocked down my soda, boy.
And this video suggests 2 things. One, every nationality on
you
earth.
knocked down the soda, you're gonna be in trouble.
Somebody needs to mute yourself. We're hearing you. Please mute yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the video suggests 2 things. One, every nationality on earth has a place they can return to, and understanding that America is the melting pot. We have every nationality, and more so than ever since the migration challenges that we've been facing in the past few years, right? Number 2, we have to consider the conspiracy of Psalms 83. And those of you who know your scripture in your Bible, more specifically, Psalms 83:3 talks about a conspiracy among nations, that everyone knows who we are, the Black folks, but we don't know who we are, at least not a few years ago. But the dry bones indeed is rising. So if you don't know that scripture, I suggest tonight you take a look at Psalms 83, more specifically, the conspiracy documented Psalms 83:3. And believe it or not, as Blacks, we are the world's best kept secret. And it's about high time we stand up and reclaim our throne, in this case, daughters of Zion, our crown, come back into who we are called to be. And that might be an uphill challenge, but if you're up to the challenge, I am doing a love message to myself, and I ask you to join me on this transformational journey. It's important to know that without a foundation, we will continue to believe we have no value. And that is furthest from the truth. We know that the God of Israel does not create junk, right? And regardless of how we are viewed worldwide, and of course with social media, that view is exacerbated when we are put the lowest in terms of beauty and everything else. We know different, right? We know that the world imitates our styles. We know that our features, including our full lips and our curves that many pay for, we naturally have, we were born with. Our sass, our elegance, our grace, our regal coils, our option to wear weaves or not, right? We still have beautiful coils, and our various shades of melanin. And more specifically, and more importantly, our fate. There are many during slavery that would much prefer a woman of color, Black woman, the slave owner, to breastfeed their baby than anyone else. And you have to take a pause. Now, when I think about it, it makes me want to cry, but you have to take pause and wonder why. And then you fast forward to the 21st century, or even a few years back and moving forward, and you take a look at the internet, and we ask, what the heck is going on with our daughters of Zion? our beautiful sisters, and why our men have a distaste for us, that they are going the other way. And then we have other sisters, result of their less men, they're also going the other way. You have to think that this possibly might be by design. So we need to come back, as Sister Louise indicated, we need to know our role as helpmates and come back into the role that we were birthed to be, and understand the importance and value that we bring to the table, to the family structure, and we need to move forward. So as Sister Louise indicated, I am the CEO of Consultant Proficiency Resources, and my company was founded on a premise that restoration or revitalization is required. And CPR achieves to accomplish this through consulting and coaching and training. And it's important to know that when we sound the alarm, like we're doing this day, and we raise the bar and we ask our sisters, will you welcome the challenge? Will you self-reflect? Will you take a look at you and do the work, because only you can change you? And I'm starting, and I'm asking you to join me on that journey as we continue to take it in the boot camp through self-reflection. Because we know that with self-reflection builds self-awareness. Self-awareness allows us to then do some self-check, self-correct. And so we're not talking about perfection. We're talking about being honest with ourselves and say, my bad, pivot, get back on the horse, try it again the next time. We're not perfect, but we could certainly aim to evolve or transform into the individuals that we were created to be. So for the next few minutes, I'm just here to inspire you to aspire to up. And that is level up to your potential. You want to unlock or unleash your potential. And that potential is really your God-given talent and gift that resides within all of us. So there should be no haters, right? Your gift is not my gift, and my gift is not your gift. We all have gifts. We just have to ask what it is, and we need to unlock that potential so we can up or level up, take things to the next level. And I pray that each person at the sound of my voice make a decision today, if you have not already done so, to indeed take it up, level up. And in doing so, if you're busy doing the work, there'll be no time to disrupt others' potential. There'll be no times for frenemies. There'll be no time for haters, right? You'll be focusing on what you're called and charged to do while managing your families. So with our collective voices, wisdom, distinct experiences, and there are many, and perspectives as women of color, as Black women throughout the diaspora, I identify 4 links that locks us together as sisterhood. And if you identify a 5th one, I want you to put it in the chat. Sister Louise will check it out. Indeed, if you've added one to my list. The first one that makes us unique and links us or locks us as sisters. We know that we are created by the Creator. That means we're all creative. We have creative juice flowing. We are family. The Bible reflects the history of melanated folks going back to the cradle of civilization. Number 2, know your worth. Value begins with you. How you value yourself, how you dress, how you portray yourself on social media is sending a message. What message are you sending when you present yourself to social media, at the workplace, on the street, wherever you go? What message are you sending? So it's important that you know your worth. Know that you're representing all of us. When you see one, you see all. You need to remember that. I remember growing up in the Caribbean, my mom used to say, walk with your head tall and upright and straight. And I always kept in the back of my head when I went to university, being the only raisin in the university, only Black person, I was proud anyway, because I was representing my family. I was representing my legacy. And even though they may not have seen my beauty, I know that my God did not create junk. And I was going to come here, do my best, because I have value in me. And despite what the late Kevin Samuel, I know a lot of you know about Kevin Samuel, right? And may he rest in peace. But despite what he stated, there might be some truth to it because we could clean up our acts. But what he was wrong about is the value. We all have high value. The question is, do you know it? And are you working towards that? And it's high time that we do that. And the third, we can work together in love, celebrate our successes together, mourn our losses together, and get back up again. The scripture reminds us, for just man falleth 7 times and rise it up again, according to Proverbs 24:16. So we need to get back up again. There are no perfect individuals. You fall, you get back up. You fall, you get back up, and do it 7 times plus. And the fourth one, you have one tongue. So be wise. Listen more with 2 ears and with your heart. Observe more with the 2 eyes that your Creator granted you with. And talk only when it's to edify and build up, not to break down, right? We know how words can be weaponized. And we know that many of us, we have practiced it for so long, we know how to use it well, but it's still a choice today. So sisters, regardless of what you're going through, try not to use your tongue to weaponize and make the situation worse. Allow your tongue to be the water that quells the fire, to bring things out, as opposed to exacerbate or allow the fire to go on much further. And as I am talking, I am self-reflecting and I'm pointing my fingers at myself. And this is something we all need to do as part of, if you're going to be self-reflecting, so that you can be a better leader for yourself. When you can lead yourself towards righteousness and goodness and what is true, then yes, you could then lead your department, you could lead and manage your kids, you can lead and manage your family, you could work alongside with your husband, right? Our brothers gained their trust and love. And of course, we could always take things to the next level when it comes to our businesses. When you know better, we are called to do better. And that starts with self-managing. So in essence, by now, you should know what the self-leadership is all about, right? And in my coaching practice, I challenge my clients to understand, know your negative traits and your faults and your threats, the same way how Sister Linnell indicated we need to know our positive traits and where opportunities so we can grow and develop. Part of knowing your negative traits, we call you want to grow. And grow is an acronym for getting rid of old ways. G, get, R, rid of old, and W for ways. And that's the toxic mindset, the toxic tendencies. It's something that you learn from childhood. Okay, but now you're 40. You can certainly get rid of those toxic ways by doing the work, right? Everything we have today is because of habit, for better or for worse. So in order to break that mold, that negative habit, you definitely want to substitute it with something positive, fruits of the spirit, something good. But it can be done if we're intentional, if we decide we're going to work on ourselves and answer to ourselves because we value ourselves and make a difference. Understand that God's glory, yes, glory is our own story, and it's a beautiful one. Sometimes painful, but it's a beautiful one. So use your story to illustrate God's, yes, glory, and up, that is, unlock your potential. And when you can lead yourself, you're developing really good character. By coaching practice, I also teach the ABCs of character. And it's important to understand that when you know the ABCs of character, you avoid A, B, bad, C, character, ABC. Very simple. Avoid bad character. Those are the fundamentals, the ABCs of developing good character. And to close out, it's important to note that we are our own drivers. We're in the driver's seat. And understand when mistakes occur, that's the rearview mirror. Our goal is to move straight ahead. In my practice, I say God is my CEO. I'm the deputy CEO. Scripture tells us the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. In this case, a good woman. If that's the case, why would you want to run in front of your Creator who knows your beginning from the end? So allow him to lead and direct you accordingly. And before I close out, I want to introduce to you three wonderful women, biblical, historical, and contemporary, because we have women of the past and current women. They are upping their game. They are unlocking their potential. The first one is Queen Esther. She led a kingdom and the people of Israel through prayer and fasting. And ultimately, she was able to communicate with all her feminine wiles to her husband, the king, of the decision, and it was turned around. Because of her wisdom, she inclined her ear to wisdom, according to Proverbs 2:2, and she was able to make a difference. The next person is Madam C.J. Walker. She was an African-American entrepreneur, philanthropist, political and social activist, and she's recorded as the first female, not first Black female, first female self-made millionaire in America, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Does anyone know the name of Madam C.J. Walker, her birth name? You have 10 seconds to put it in the comments section. And if you do, I have a free 30-minute coaching session available at no charge. What is the name, birth name of Madam C.J. Walker? Sister Louise is going to look to see if anyone is brave enough to answer that question. And at the end, I will give you the answer. Anyway, we will go back into the story of Madam C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker was the first of her siblings to be born after the Emancipation Proclamation. She was not born a slave. And unfortunately, she had a very sad childhood, including she was orphaned. She was abused by her brother-in-law. As a result, she married early to escape and built her wealth as a single mother. She was also married 3 times. So through her third husband, Charles Joseph Walker, Madam C.J. Walker acquired the name through a husband. Okay, so her story mirrors many women today, but she got up. She unlocked her potential. And the last woman, fast forward to the 21st century, you may or may not know of this incredible young woman. Her name is Cassandra Brown Duckett. Trailblazing woman, CEO of a Fortune 500 company, managing $1.2 trillion in assets for the TIAA. And despite her challenges encountered while climbing corporate America, Sister Cassandra Brown Duckett got up. Yes, she unlocked her potential. So despite all of the life hurdles with our 3 sisters, biblically, historically, and contemporary, we know the importance of leveling up. That is unlocking your potential, which is God divine, your divine purpose. And it's also important to note, as we come to an end, it's important to have peace of mind during this time. It is so important. And I've always said my health is my wealth. But I would like to compound that thought about health being your wealth with a notion that your wealth is also up here, right? State of mind, heart, a circumcised heart. And scripture reminds us, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, according to Matthew 12:34. So I would say, my beautiful sisters, know that every word you speak is an example of the seed you are depositing in your garden, because we all have a garden, because we all speak. My question is, what's in your spiritual garden? Do you have alkaline fruits and veggies, or rotten fruits and veggies? That's a question for you. If you identify the latter, your work needs to be done, and it's important to know that it can be done by simply breaking that habit. And yes, this is my conclusion. We have all unlocked potential. We all can go up, level up. We must dig in and aspire to level up. And it's important to know that Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that I know the plans that I have for you. Who is I? Our creator. Our story is already written. He knows the plans that he has for each and every one of us, and that may look different. It might be different paths. My question, did you ask? James 4:2 says, you have not because you ask not. Did you ask your creator the plans he has for you? And finally, we must value and love ourselves enough to speak the love language of truth to ourselves. Hence the reason for self-reflection that ties into self-leadership. If you're spewing lies and hatred, understand two things. You either practice self-hate, you really don't like yourself, and that's another story altogether, or that you're just plain not telling the truth, okay? Scripture reminds us, according to John 8:32, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Truth telling change lives. Are you ready to change? No one is perfect, certainly not me, certainly not you, but I'm doing the work. And my love message today, I'm asking you to join me on this transformational journey. I hope to see you on the road. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give Sister Cheryl a great hand. We thank you for that great information where we spoke about relationships and how we interact with one another and some of the smart things that we need to be doing for us as we become these, we're reclaiming our queendom. And that's what we need to be doing because we know there's so many and so much inappropriate behaviors out here now until it's so vital and the world is so chaotic. So thank you for that, Sister Cheryl. And we're going to move forward to our next slide where we're going to be talking about mental health. It's going to be very brief because the most important thing that we're going to do is have it shared in the boot camp, but we are going to touch on it briefly. So let me move into that part quickly with you. So give me a moment here. I think I'm getting better with this, you guys. I think. There we go. So let's go to the next one, which is mental health. And we know that Dr. Joy DeGruy at the top of the event, the masterclass, she talked about this part, which has to do with mental health. And we know that our mental health is so vital. So hopefully everyone should be able to see the screen now about mental health, health and wellness, a lifeline. We all, particularly as Black women, we really need to start paying attention to our health because our health, if we don't have your health, how are you going to create any wealth? And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at 25 years from now. If we don't do something about what's going on with us within the Black community and connecting the dots, as Dr. George Fraser says, and bringing it all together. And Dr. Joy DeGruy, if you're not familiar with her, she has a lot of information out on YouTube University. You can go out there and see how she talks about bringing it together with our health because we don't want to be walking around with the medicine cabinet full of medications where we are mentally and physically impaired. We want to bring our health back into focus. And with that said, let me read you something real quickly. You deserve to be in spaces and relationships that make you happy, that feed your soul and help you grow. You are worthy of connections that are loving, nourishing, and genuine. Before you settle for anything less than, remind yourself that the places you visit and people you journey with through life should make you feel safe, loved, and enough because you are enough. You are a queen. And say to yourself, let's everybody say it together, I am the queen.
I am the queen. Amen.
I am the queen.
I am the queen.
Thank you. All right. So with that said, let's think about our psychological well-being. We are in warfare, whether you know it or not. And I put this on here because I wanted to go just briefly over this because we're going to deep dive into the mental health field in the boot camp because a lot of us don't really understand how psychiatry in the medical field, we're in warfare because a lot of all of this stuff is by design. The psychiatrists even look at our color and we're at the color of our skin and say we have a disease. And there's a museum in California that I've gone to on multiple occasions that depicts all of these instances where we as Black people are treated like we have a disease. And this is not just back in the day, so to speak, 100, 200 years ago. We're talking 21st century, where a psychiatrist back in 2022, I believe, 21 or 22, lost his job because he was saying we still have a disease because of the color of our skin. So we'll deep dive into that later. But Malcolm X warned us more than 50 years ago. This is the media, and irresponsible media. It will make the criminal look like he's the victim and make the victim look like he's the criminal. If you aren't careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. And this is sort of a propaganda tactic that I would call psychological warfare. And aren't we seeing that today? It's all around us. Social media, the mainstream news media is everywhere. And we're going to deep dive into this psychological flexibility chart in the boot camp, where it says psychological flexibility is the ability to adapt to life's difficulties while remaining true to one's values. This skill consists of 6 key components, which are illustrated below. Developing these traits leads to greater resilience, emotional tolerance, and overall well-being. So we're going to deep dive into these when we get into the boot camp. For an example, on this acceptance, we're going to learn and discuss taking control of your feelings. How do you do that? What does that look like? Detachment from thoughts, reflecting within the positive versus the negative, and reality of your fears and insecurities. Why? Why do you have these fears and insecurities? And present focus perspective. Are you connecting with the now? Are you stuck in the past? And that's really crippling a lot of us and putting us into despair. Observing self, how you look at what you think. We have to start looking at what we think and start utilizing our critical thinking skills. We're going to look at role models versus real models, because a lot of what we call role models out here in today's environment is toxic. So we got to look at real, genuine models so that we can have some value clarification on self-nourishing with that clarity, and also values enactment. Do your goals align with your values? And from what we see today, we have to really take a deep dive in this psychological flexibility chart here so that we can focus on who we are. And we've gone through a lot of it and established about relationships and how we establish those relationships. That's so vital. And with that said, we're going to segue into finance, because finance has so much to do with everything that we have discussed prior. The money mindset. Do you have a fear of money? And a lot of us do. We have a fear of money. Why do you think we are the most spending people in the world, not just America? We spend, we spend, we spend, we spend. And what are we spending our money on? That's what we got to start taking a look at. What are we spending our money on? It's the money mindset. Do you have a fear of money? Is that why it goes through our hands as soon as we get it? Like my grandmother used to say, that money was burning your hand and burning your pocket because you couldn't keep your money. We don't have any savings. We're struggling. Do you realize that as Black people, we have close to $1.6 trillion going through our hands every year? And yet many of us are struggling. We don't own anything collectively, I'm talking about. And when Dr. Claude Anderson wrote the book, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, and some of the other books he's written, it walks us through the why, because we have to get to the root cause of why we are living the way we are living as Black people, because we have to take control and accountability of our own life. And listen to this: a soul care, a time to unplug from constant connectivity to recharge your heart. create your hands, nourish your soul, and answer the call of spirit. We have to start doing that. And we have to look at ourselves, look in the mirror every day and say, I am powerful, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, I'm unapologetic, I'm influential, I'm innovative, I have love within my heart. I'm connecting the dots with my community, my family, bringing this family structure together, because as queens, we are the key to helping our men to know how to respect us. And we have lost that. We've lost that zest, and we have to bring it back, because we are queens. We are Black, magical, melanated women, and we have to know our power. Like that verse says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power. And you notice power comes before love. Power, love, and a sound mind. So we have the power. We just have to reclaim it. And that's what we're going to do. And with that said, I believe Sister Cheryl wants to speak a little bit about the mindset as well of money. So go ahead, Sister
Yes,
Cheryl.
thank you so much, Sister Louise. And just to piggyback a little bit about a Black dollar, what irks me the most is that the Black dollar churns about 1 hour in our community, even though we had Black Wall Street and all those other phenomenal communities, right? And in all other communities, you name the nationality, that dollar stays within their communities, because they're exchanging, they're networking, and they value the service and the product from their own community, including their culture. But in our community, we run out and we're trying to live up to the Joneses. So we're going to get into that. That's one of my pet peeves. So we're going to have to shake that off a little bit. But today I just want to get into the fear of money. So the basic, the most fundamental about money is that as a community, one of the biggest phobias in our community is called chromophobia, and that is the fear of money. And the fear has to do more with a lack of knowledge about our finances as we reside throughout the diaspora, because money, the Bible says that money is not the root of all evil, right? Money was never found guilty for a crime. All the Ponzi schemes, everything else, money laundering, there were men behind the money. So why are we fearful of money? So it's a lack of knowledge, and we need to regain that understanding that we're working and living in a debt-focused, debt-oriented USA. And because we're here, we have to join them, but we have to understand what that looks like. So I'm just going to tap very briefly five fears of money as recorded by a researcher. The number one fear is a catastrophe event, whether it's a health scare, whether it's a disaster. As a community, the number one financial fear is that as a result of that health concern or anything else, that will drain our bank account. And why it scares us so much, that's the question we need to have. And part of the solution we will be bringing to bootcamp to counteract that fear is, what do I have in place? What preparations are in place in the event there's a disaster, right? We could put our money in the bank, but do you have a few dollars in a cookie jar in case we can't access the ATM machine? If you're fearful of the stock market, that's okay, but do you have a 401k? So we need to put that in perspective. The number two fear, it has to do with understanding the stock market, our pensions, 401k. I do recall my very first job in college, I worked right through while I was in undergrad. And as small as that payment was, I remember it was like $2 or $3 a pay period or whatever it was, I would put aside in terms of savings. Now you could take that money now and multiply 20 years later. It added up. My 2 cents, 3 cents added up. So it's important we have to plan accordingly, save and understand the different pensions that we have out there, including stock markets, right? For some reason, we think the stock market is for other people but us. We just need to understand, and this is where knowledge comes from. Our number 3 fear is fear of getting a pink slip. And I would say there's several reasons why you may get a pink slip. Now more than ever has to do with the Great Resignation. Another reason right now could be the migration issue that we have right now in the US. We have different communities coming in and taking those low-paying jobs. And if you're demanding a fair wage because my ancestors built America, guess what? You might be given a pink slip. So we're going to take a look at that in the boot camp. And it's about working the plan. If you have a job, start working a plan and planning to work in terms of understanding your way out, where it leads to small business ownership, entrepreneurship, etc. The number 4th fear of financial fear number 4, my apologies. A lot of our women, they're scared and they're destined to be bag ladies. That's the term we use. I'm not sure whether Generation Z is familiar with that term, but I remember hearing that term from Generation X, going to school, going to college. Make sure that you have enough, you save enough, so you don't become a bag lady. And that's a message we must remove from our forefront because, of course, we are what we think, right? And we're going to delve into that further. And the last one, when we look at our financial fear, the 5th one, is that you'll never get out of debt. Again, we are working and living in a debt-driven society. So it's about managing accordingly. And one of the things we have to know, again, knowledge is power. And similar to our health concerns, it's imperative to know our lab values for glucose, cholesterol. As a community, we also need to know our financial status, our financial well-being, our financial health. And unfortunately, our communities are plagued with misinformation. And compared with other ethnicities, our sisters suffer from poor financial literacy. This remains a huge concern in our community. Aside from Sister Tasanda that we spoke about, managing $1.2 trillion in assets, we need to regain our financial health. And it starts with removing that misinformation of financial literacy that will be part of our boot camp. Back to you, sis.
Thank you for that information. So we're going to go back to our slide here, and we're going to move forward to our last segment, and then we will get into the Q&A. And by the way, we do have a winner for Madam C.J. Walker, who was the first one to put information in there, and we'll announce that. Did you say toward the end, Sister Cheryl, that we will announce?
If you want to do it now, you can.
Okay.
Or you want to wait until the end? It's your call, sis.
Okay. Well, right now, we'll go ahead and we'll keep you guys in suspense a little bit longer.
There you go.
Suspense, suspense, suspense. Guess who won? We'll tell you in a few. So give me a minute here. Oops, what did I do here? Did I go too far? I did. Here we go. Okay, this is our last segment, the last slide, and Sister Cheryl is going to be addressing this about effective leadership equals self-leadership. And I know we walk around, we got business on our mind. What's in your vision can also dictate on what's in your wallet. And notice this followed finance, because we have to have some investment strategies as Black women. And we know a lot of Black women are single parents now, particularly, and we really need to get a grasp on how we're spending our money and how we can boost ourselves up as single parents, particularly, or single women. And we're going to deep dive into this boot camp about entrepreneurship, ownership, real estate ownership. And we touched on it about stocks in the financial component. we have this new thing called cryptocurrency. And as a baby boomer, back in the day, we had never heard of cryptocurrency, in which a lot of us didn't even know anything about the stock market. That might be why we have a fear of money, because we were not taught by design. We weren't supposed to learn about money. Also, life insurance, how vital it is for life insurance to get you a will, have a living trust, because those are important aspects of your life as well, and connecting the dots with the support system on what creates legacy and that generational wealth. Because we have to look at ourselves as these beautiful Black queens, and we don't want to do nothing, because if you do nothing, you're going to have no legacy. Your family will be wrapped up in confusion, powerless, devastated, brokenness will occur, despair. So we really have to get a handle on how we are spending our money and our business, get some ownership. It's about changing the mindset, as there must be a renewing of the minds, a mindset change to begin closing that wealth gap within the Black community, where Black women are the most devastated. And at this time, many Black women are the strength of the family. And this is why we need to get our roles together, so we can bring our family structure back together. And we won't have that thought where many of us were told back in the day. I remember as a kid, they were telling us, oh, money is the root of all evil. And that may be one of our fears too. We thought money was the root of all evil, but we find out later it's the love of money. And I think about, I want to share with you, like I said, we're not going to church. However, we are living biblically every day, whether we acknowledge it or not, because God has already told us we shall not want. That's in Psalms 23. So why are we walking around wanting? But it's how we are designing or not designing our lives, and the lack of knowledge, as Sister Cheryl said. And the other one, how we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we are. Look at us, all the beautiful queens running around, working on those kings, but you got to have that self-respect so you can have that motivated king to respect you and love you. You have to have that self-respect. And I already spoke to you about the one with 2 Timothy 1:7, with power is, and you shouldn't have that spirit of fear. You have power, love, and a sound mind. And with that said, we're going to stop sharing. And once again, we're going to have Sister Cheryl to come to us and address business on my mind, because we got a business mind.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with trying to get your coins, right? And I think Sister Linnell said it best in terms of religion gave us that poverty mindset, right? If we go back all the way to 1619 and further back, and that was a way of keeping us oppressed. So as like Sister Louise indicated, is the love of money. Money never committed a crime. And if we look biblically, we know how the disciples and the Messiah, when he walked the face of the earth, used money in order to get what he needed to get, whether it's rooms or whether it's food, whatever have you. He took a ship across to the other area. No one ever asked, well, how did he get, if he was walking, he had no home, how did he get over there, right? The disciples, if you look historically, and you consider the culture of the people, there were tax collectors amongst them. That's someone who has the money bag. I believe Matthew was a tax collector. So at no point in time, we should have that poverty mindset. It's okay to go get your coins. There's a way to do it, and we want to show you how to do it. You need to remain informed. And yes, it's about a business mindset that can help you achieve success in the right way without losing salvation. It helps you become a leader rather than just another employee, if you so desire. This mentality is helpful because it takes you to the next level, right? It expands your horizon. And in having a business mindset, you then have more of an entrepreneurial mindset. And the reality is, if you look at the research, a lot of the corporate jobs are closing, whether it is Walmart, whether it's, there's so many job closings, CVS and Rite Aid and Toys R Us, and a lot of companies are filing Chapter 11. So the reality is, if we look 50 years from now, the corporation that we once thought that we would be able to retire is not. We have to create, and we need to be the new fuel within our community, that engine that drives our community. And part of that is, again, tapping into your gifts, because you have business on your mind, learning how to do right, allow the money to churn within our own community. We have done it before, over and over and over again. And they have burnt it down over and over and over again. But still, we shall go up. We'll continue to unleash our power. So let's just look at a few between 5 and 10, if time permits, in terms of when we say business mindset, what does that look like? It's about upskilling, always developing, professional development, IT development, whatever that may be. You always want to continue and be in a state of learning. And as we get older, it's also great for our mind and our brain. You want your brain to continue to grow. Wherever you are, you decide where you want to go. Find that love, find that passion, find what it takes to get to the next level and go up, to unleash your potential and continue to seek opportunities to upskill. And don't stop at mastering one skill. Do as many skills you can have. Sister Linnell talked about being a Jenny of all trades. That's because she didn't stop at one skill. She has a plethora of skills, and it's important that we are masterful and use our creativity to be a master of many different skills. Don't apologize for poor decisions. We all make them. But again, we have learned we need to get back up again and continue to push forward. Be prepared for the future and looking at what's going on in the world today. Again, we have this huge migration problem. Many folks will be displaced and we will be replaced, whether it's healthcare, whether it's IT, whether it's a local grocery store. Many of the immigrants are indeed, the migrants are replacing the Black and brown individuals within our own communities, not even in another community. They're coming in the urban areas. That's a New York City tri-state area, that including Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, including Chicago, right? Including areas of Florida, including some areas of Carolina, right? So it's important that we remain upskill, understand if we make poor decisions, that's okay. Don't allow that to be our burden. We correct, we move forward. Be prepared for the future, as we indicated. Explore new business opportunities. I believe in networking. I have a lovely young lady that came on my radio program, Jumpstart with CPR, and she is the princess of networking, and she gave some key skills. And one of the skill sets we spoke about, aside from EQ and communications, etc., and we're going to get into it into the boot camp, is reciprocity. And historically, that has kind of a bad negative connotation, but really it's not. Reciprocity is about a win-win, right? And going into, if we speak about business, we go into it understanding, we give this, I get this is what I value in exchange. There's a little bit of a barter system with a clear understanding. So we're going to get into that, because networking amongst us is going to be so vital as we move forward. Proactively seek challenges. I think that's going to help sharpen us. We need to hone our skills. And that also may mean interacting with people outside of our community, right? Don't be afraid to go out and network and seek those opportunities and seek out challenges, because sometimes they may have the key. Use small steps to grow. Sister Louise have her gold diggers, as in GOAL, and not gold diggers, GOLD. So it's very important that we become goal diggers. Set your goals, take small steps. I call them micro steps, and continue to push forward. Have the right attitude. We know it's your attitude and not necessarily your aptitude that would give you your altitude to soar. So have the right mindset. That is business mindset, so you can soar and move forward. Understand that business is risk, and business is also about spending money. In this society, in order to make money, you have to spend money. It doesn't happen without it. You just have to figure out the numbers. If not, seek help, and always be ready for change. In grad school, one of the main things I learned 20 years ago, and it stuck with me today, is that the only thing that is constant is change. Be ready for change. We're already seeing the change and the transformation in our communities. And I would challenge you to join us on this wonderful journey on not only starting with self-management, self-leadership, but find the other ways that we could also be ready. So when we land, we're landing with much dexterity on our feet. And with that, I will turn it back to Sister Louise, your lovely host.
Thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Let me thank you, Sister Cheryl. Let's give her a hand. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So we hope that you all are enjoying this, and this brings us up to where we're going to now let you know a little information. We're going to take questions. We're going to look in the chat. But first, let us tell you who the winner is for Madam C.J. Walker. The first person in the chat was Dolores Allen, and she said her name is Sarah Breedlove. Is that correct?
That is correct. Woo!
All right. Woo!
Congratulations, and thank you for answering. Excellent.
And we did have a second person that came in that said Sarah, but they didn't give the last name, and that was Ruth. So we thank you because you did give the first name of her, but you came in second after. So thank you, Ruth, for participating. And congratulations, Dolores Allen.
Yes, Dolores will be in touch.
Yeah, she will be in touch. You will get that coaching from Cheryl. And she's out of Houston. We have queens in here from all over. We have California, we have New Jersey, we have Texas, of course, and I don't know where else, but we appreciate you all coming in. And now we're gonna look in the chat. And
Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania. Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you all for coming in, and we're looking forward to you coming to the boot camp. Now, the boot camp is going to be March the 17th through the 21st. It's going to be 5 days, 2 hours, maybe 2.5, because we'll probably have question and answers. So we're happy to have all of you in. And I see you made it to Shauna. You had told me I got daughters in here that adopted me, and I adopted them. Some of them. So at Virginia, in fact, she's out of Virginia. I think it is Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. So we have participants, these queens from all over the United States. So we all have on our crowns. Thank you all. So we are getting ready for that. But what we want you to do is put in the chat what would be the best time for us to do the boot camp. It will be 5 days, 2.5 to 3 hours. So let us know. It'll be March 17th through March 21st, which is not Black History. We're in Black History Month now. It's going to be Women's Month. However, I did share with you at the beginning that I have coined it as Mad Black Queens Month. That's what we're going to be celebrating. And that MAD is for motivated and determined to help to elevate our community to a higher level of consciousness. So let's get ready for that. And if you could put it in the chat, what would be the best time for you to attend? And we'll take the time that we get the most responses from. That's the time that we will choose. So now we're going to go to the chat, and be sure, and we're going to give you more information at the boot camp. The time. Oh, some are saying already what the time. Yeah, Tashana, you are in Virginia. Thank you so much for letting me know. So I'm going to see if I can make the chat. Oops, I didn't want to make it too big, but I want to put the chat up so that we can answer questions if they're in here. I'm trying to bring it up. You guys know I've had some issues with navigating through this tonight, but if I can get the chat up, let's see. I
can see it on my side, Sister Louise, if you want me to help.
Could you please, could you share the chat
Yes.
on your side then? That would be great.
Yes, let me see if I can do the share screen on my end.
On the side, that way we can see what questions we may have and what comments we have, because we'd like to share those with you as well. And we hope that you all have enjoyed this masterclass and you're looking forward to the boot camp. We're looking forward to having all of you back. Please invite your loved ones to come to the boot camp. This is recorded, and because of the little glitches we have, I will get it edited so we can get the little glitches out, but all of your information and everything will be here, so you don't have to be concerned, and we'll work out how we want to share this, because this can be like a class for some people that want to share it with others, because it is, oh, thank you. Someone said it was very edifying. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And this has been a vision of mine for some time, and I just got the opportunity to go ahead and share it. Were you able to bring this chat up?
No, you have to share the content with me. But so far, we have 6 p.m. Eastern, and someone said the same time we started today. I'm not sure, Sister Dolores, what state you're in, but it says the same time as today.
She's in Texas, I know.
She's in Texas, so that'll be 6 p.m. Central.
Okay, so we'll see. Were there any questions anybody wanted to ask, since I can't seem to bring the chat up? Comments, if you'd like to just unmute yourself and go ahead and give your questions or comments, and we'll see if we can answer whomever wants to comment or have a question, because I can't see the chat. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but I'm not able to see it.
If someone wants to put the question in the chat, I could also read out from it on behalf of Sister Louise. If not, just come on mute.
Hi, this is Henrietta.
Currency exchange.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you guys, for you ladies, for taking time to do this tonight. I'm normally not one to take classes because I just don't have time. But it was very insightful, and it really helped me a lot.
Amen. All praises to the Most High. Thank you so much, Sister Henrietta. Thank you. And again, kudos go out to Sister Louise and her vision.
I'd like to thank you for this class. It's very educational, what I did catch. And I'd also like to know about currency exchange and stocks.
Okay. Your name is not coming up. Could you self-identify?
Tashana Thompson.
Okay.
Tashana Thompson.
Sorry.
I'm driving.
Okay.
Tashana Thompson. Okay. Hey, Tashana, I'm sorry. I was on mute, you guys, and I couldn't unmute myself, but I was just saying that I appreciate Henrietta making those comments. She's my cousin. She's here in Texas as well. And I know she is very busy, but we want to see you in the boot camp as well, Henrietta. And thank you so much for coming in and sharing that comment. We appreciate it. I was talking on mute and you couldn't hear me. And thank you, Tashana. You said you're driving. I believe she's out in Virginia. So thank you. Does anyone else want to make a comment? Please do. And because I can't see the chat, like I said.
Yeah, I'd like to know about the currency exchange and stocks.
Okay, you said about exchange and stocks and so forth. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, Mom. Currency exchange. How to do currency exchange and when the market flips over for that.
I got you.
Stock exchange. More understanding of that, but I enjoyed all the information you guys were giving tonight. What I did catch, because I was taking care of my mother as well.
Right. Yeah.
And having to work at the same time.
Okay, sure. You're going to have to come back to the boot camp, and we're going to talk about that. The cryptocurrency, the stock market, real estate, insurance, and we're going to have some guests to come in and talk to you about different aspects of mental health. We have I think it's either going to be a licensed counselor or a psychologist is going to come in. And please come back. Everything is free. We are doing this because, like I said, I'm this mad Black woman, motivated and determined to help to elevate our community to a higher level of consciousness, because 25 years from now, if we don't do something, we don't know what will happen with our families, and we are working on bringing the family structure back. So Tashana is like a daughter to me. I know her too, lived in California. A little quick story about her. We were at an event where I was a speaker, because I am, as I said, a motivational speaker as well. If you need a speaker, be sure and contact me, and you should have my contact information in the invite, as well as my website, LouiseHicks.com, which is just my name, and add .com to it. You can get in touch with me, go to my social media, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and all of my other social medias, because you will be getting more content from me. And the life management group we spoke about, we have a meeting coming up. Let's see. We have it coming up on Linnell. Is it Thursday? The life management group is coming up.
The 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay, that's the life management group. And if you're not familiar with it, just send me an email at aimtopurpose@gmail.com. That's AIMED, the number 2, purpose@gmail.com. And I'll get that information over to Linnell, and she can send out information to you about the life management group. And I am a part of that group as well. And hopefully moving forward, I would like to have some in-person events as well. But I really thank you all so much. And there's something else in the chat. Let's see if I can see it. When I put the chat on, I lose you guys. That's the only way I can see it. Oh, thank you.
Did you see the message from Sister Dolores, sis?
Oh, okay. Sister Dolores said, you are amazing, and I will be inviting more people. Thank you so much. And
Amen.
You appreciate this uplift, much needed, and love the motivation. I can't wait to the boot camp. TK Cam, amen. Thanks, Sister Louise. Barbara Smith, thank you, ladies, for the amazing education you have shared with us. Tashana, awesome. Dolores again, Texas. Barbara said the same time we started today. It's going to be a 5-day boot camp, and we're going to go. It looks like most of you want it to be like 6 o'clock, I guess, Central Time, which is our time. And we thank Pennsylvania is in the house, in our queendom. I'm trying to go through just to thank all of you guys that I see here. You can't see me, but because I don't know how yet to get this on. And we are in warfare. Thank you, TK Cam. Let's see, including the former president of Harvard. That has to do with what us talking about. One of the points, I don't know which one we were on, when it had to do with the former president of Harvard University, the Black woman that they weaponized against to get her out of there. And she was the president of Harvard University. Nice job, ladies. B.A. Nelson, thank you so much. Let's see if I can see some more. Betty Ann Nelson, the chat screens are going on and off. Okay, thank you, Tina. Tina is my son's sister and like my daughter as well. Thank you, out in California. Regina said the low sound, and I apologize for that. Barbara, thank you, saying hello to everyone. And I believe let's see, Tina, I guess you had an unstable internet connection, but hopefully you got it resolved. So let me go back to me. Does anyone else want to have a say? And we did take you a little bit over the time frame, but we appreciate everybody. And we want to thank you, and we will start the boot camp. So please put it on your calendar for March the 17th through the 21st. That'll be Sunday through Thursday, March 17th through 21st. And it looks like from what we've seen, the 6 o'clock hour seems to be working Central Time. That would be the same times, I guess, as now then. And it will be recorded. So if anyone is missing it, no worries, because it will be recorded and we will only edit to get the glitches out that happened. Everything else will be there. And do once a month. What is that about once a month, Tashana?
Do this class right now that we're having now once a month. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. Would anyone else be interested in us doing a master class once a month after we do the boot camp? Would you come in to be a part of it? Because if so, we certainly can, and you can invite more people because, like I said, I am on a Mad Black Queens Month. I coined it as of today, and that's motivated and determined. I coined it, I'm proclaiming it. We're going to have a Mad Black Queens Month, and we can do it monthly. And we can come in and have that camaraderie and speak with everyone. And we don't have to stay for 2 hours or 2.5. We can just come in for an hour once a month and just talk and uplift one another and unify and connect together and uplift one another. We need that because right now we are not.
I think you told me that. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you say? Who said that?
That sounded like Sister Betty.
Oh, Sister Betty. Okay. So if you all want to do that, I think if I'm not mistaken, April is Black Women's Month. So we can start maybe in April and we'll pick a date and time during the boot camp. We can pick a date and time for that and we can come in once a month and just uplift one another. And we will call it our Mad Black Queens Month, if you guys don't mind, what I coined today when I was thinking about motivation and determination. That's who I call myself, the Mad Black Woman, and Miss Aim to Purpose.
Right.
So
and
if I
can add, with this session, it seems we had intergenerational connection. So we would love to expand it. We have from boomers, I don't think we had anyone silent, but from boomers all the way to at least Generation Z that was present today online. And if we could expand that, there could be awesome conversations because we know communication is the link that will continue to get us churning and to bring us back together as a family, right? Because there are a lot of lessons to be taught, but also a lot of lessons to be learned by every generation.
Absolutely. Yes, we had millennials in here because my daughter was in. She had an emergency. She had to go. So, but she is a millennial. We had baby boomers. We had the Gen Xers in here. And I don't think, like you said, we had the other one, the GI and the silent. I don't think we had anyone from that generation.
Right.
But it's so important that we come together because we can learn from one another. And that's vital that we keep learning. As my grandmother would say, she was really a woman of wisdom, that we all learn until the day we are taking that last breath. We continue to learn. So does anyone else have anything to say? Because if not, we are just a little bit over. Do you have any other comments or anything to say? If not, it's a little bit after 8. I have 8:12 here on Central Time because I am on Central Time right now. And it's 8:12. So any further comments?
Sister Louise, I would like to, because someone just made the statement or made the request. And so I would like to really beef it up that everyone who is online would invite as many sisters as they possibly can to the boot camp.
Yes, please invite. And I just got another message in the chat. What did they say? 9:12. You must be on the East Coast. It's 9:12. And our goal was to end around 9. So I think we did really great with the timing, considering the little computer glitches and so forth, because it's 8:12 here, and that means it must be It's 9:12 on the East Coast, and it's I'm sorry. It's what time is it on the I lived on the West Coast. That's where my kids are in California on the West Coast. So on the West Coast it must be what, 6:13. Yeah, I know the Pacific time because I've lived there all my life in California practically. So anyhow, thank you all so much. And if no other comments, do you, Sister Cheryl or Sister Linnell, either one of you have any final comments, or anybody else want to say anything? Otherwise, we're going to close out, and we look forward to seeing you in the boot camp. I will be sending out flyers. Like I said, if you have any information, go to my website, which is just LouiseHicks.com, LouiseHicks.com, and you can send me information, or you can call me. My number is 562-310-1495, or you can text me via that number, 562-310-1495. And we hope to see you on the life management group as well. And congratulations again to Dolores for winning and knowing that CJ Walker's name is Sarah Breedlove. Thank you. And there's a documentary about her, just to let you know if anyone wants to go and watch it. I saw it. I don't know whether it's still on. It was either on not Netflix, I'm sorry, Netflix or Prime, I'm not sure. But there was a documentary about her. So thank you all again. And there's something else in the chat. Give me a minute here. Nelson said, thanks again. Thank you so much too. And it was Netflix. Thanks, Dolores. She said the documentary for CJ Walker is on Netflix. No wonder you knew that. You probably watched it. I watched it a long time ago, Dolores, but I forgot. I couldn't remember myself, but I would not have entered the contest anyhow. Wouldn't have been fair. So with that said, everybody, I guess we'll just say good night and give everybody a round of applause for coming in and everything else. And good night.
Good night and thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great
We'll
job,
see
Sister
you at the
Linnell.
boot camp.
Thank you.
And you'll
Bye-bye.
get a flyer. Bye-bye, everyone.
I'll speak to the ladies this
Thank you,
week,
Doctor.
okay?
I saw
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Dr. Johnson. I saw her in here too. She's out in California. Doctor, are you still on? Yeah, Dr. Johnson out of California. She's one of my persons that would come on my podcast. And we had the panel discussion. Thank you for coming in too, Dr.
Thank you so much for this wonderful program.
Thank you. And please come to the boot camp. We'll announce the time later. And what else is in the chat here? Let me see. There is something in the chat. Good night. They're saying thank you and good night. Great job. And thank you, Dr. Johnson. We appreciate your happy face.
Thanks so much.
And saying good night. Thank you. Thanks,
Sister
everybody.
Louise, one other thing. How can we get the recording of this?
How can we get the recording?
Yes.
Once we do the boot camp, I'm going to get my son I'll have him to start working on it, because I didn't have the recording on when we started with Dr. Joy DeGruy, because I didn't want to mess up anything and lose it. So, and thank you, Dr. Johnson. We appreciate you too, believe me. Very much so. We're going to have to get back together so we can start our panel discussion for our boot camp. Dr. Johnson is part of that, and I was so happy to see her in tonight too. And Tina, so happy you could come. Thank you to Shauna. We'll talk more about all of the things that you guys are asking about. You're welcome. Love you. Love you all.
Love you too. Love you too.
And Crystal had to leave, my daughter. She had an emergency that she had to go and attend to, but she was in there. So I guess you all can log off. Everybody is signing off. Night, night.